Hello and welcome back to the Basel Pod. I'm Sam Basel, joined alongside Jordan Laube. And Jordan, we are 1 week in to the 2025 NFL season. We spent the last 3 weeks breaking down all 32 teams, all 8 divisions, plus an addendum pod. And now everything that we have said is up to the test. I think some of the stuff that we've talked about so far, we're already seeing signs of coming true. And then maybe, some of our expectations have been challenged. But before we get into all the biggest moments from week one, Jordan, how you feeling? How did you, how does it feel to be fully in the swing of NFL football in 2025?
It's great to finally be back. It feels like, football season just ended and now that it's already here, but it also feels like it's been a year since we've seen any meaningful action, right? So it's a weird feeling about how quick a turnaround it has been, just because there's so much that does go on. If you're like invested in football year round, there's so much shit that goes on between free agency, the draft, OTAs, mini camp, training camp. Like there's always stuff happening in the football space. And so that helps it go a little quicker than if you're not in tune to that stuff. But at the same time, there's so much stuff that does happen that it's information overload and it feels like it takes forever to get there. So I'm happy we're back. This was, and I'm sure you would agree, I think this has been the best week one that we've ever had in recent memory. Since I've been watching, this has easily been the best week one. Because even though they were I think there was only really one blowout, which was the Colts Dolphins game, which usually we have a few in week one. There were some much closer games than we originally anticipated. And there were some surprise upsets this week, which it was really good parity to come into week one and just have that and set the tone right for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, I agree with you in that right now that we're fully in the season, it almost feels less busy for us.
Yeah.
Right? I think because now the only thing that we really have to talk about are just games. You talked about. I mean, when you're getting ready for the preseason, you're talking about OTAs and the draft and all these different signings. It's like now you just got to see what's happening on the field, and we're going to talk about what we've seen on the field so far. We're going to break down 3 key games from this past week. We're going to break down our game of the week, a game where we learned the most from, and a game that just really surprised us. Plus some honorable mentions, and then some other fun stuff. But let's first get into our game of the week, and we're not really going too unique here. We're going with the Sunday Night Football game. Obviously, the Bills 41-40 win over the Ravens in Buffalo. This was a game in which Buffalo saw themselves down 34-19 entering the fourth quarter. Just a quick recap: they exchanged touchdowns to open up the fourth quarter. So Baltimore, they stood on top 40-25. Buffalo scores. They make it 40-32 on a crazy Josh Allen to Keon Coleman touchdown. Then on 4th and 2, on that play, it was 4th and 2. Josh Allen, he got some pressure. He got backed up all the way to the 24-yard line, and then he threw a ball that just got batted up by Dawson Knox and then caught by Coleman, literally as he was hitting the ground. I don't think you could script a more complicated touchdown play. So what was your reaction when you went to that play?
My brother and I were going nuts in the living room, just seeing Josh Allen be Josh Allen the way that we all know that he can play at. Obviously Lamar was great too. But it really helped, the whole offseason. The discourse was it was a Mickey Mouse MVP. It was a giveaway MVP, a Make-A-Wish MVP, whatever you want to call it. He comes in against the defense that was one of the best at the end of last season in the back half of the league, which we talked about multiple times on the pod preview shows or on the season preview shows. And he just went to work, and a little shaky to start the game, a couple of misfires here and there. He did navigate pressure really well throughout the game, but there were a few times I think he could have done a little bit better, dropped back too deep a couple times, but that's getting into the weeds. But Josh Allen showed every bit why he deserved MVP last year by continuing that level of play into Sunday Night Football, and he played spectacular. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, and even before that play, I mean, he was making some, like you said, he was struggling in the beginning. Obviously, they entered the fourth quarter down 15 points. But there were glimpses of it the whole game. I mean, he was breaking out of scrambles. He was, getting some yards on the ground. There were a couple times where he threw some really nice shovel passes. I feel like that's kind of becoming one of his signature things where he can really just kind of get the ball out of trouble and also make a really excellent forward progress play. But then let's, keep going in the fourth quarter here. So they're down 40-32. Then Baltimore gets the ball back. Derrick Henry fumbles on the 32-yard line. Buffalo drives all the way to the goal line, and Josh Allen just, jumps over the entire scrimmage for a touchdown. And then they try to go for two down 40-38, but they fail because Josh Allen throws a pick in the end zone. But then they got to stop and force a punt to their own 20. And then they execute in in my opinion, one of the most perfect 90-second drills to get the ball in a comfortable spot for Matt Prater to come in and kick the game-winning field goal. So for that drive specifically, I mean, how did Buffalo do that? What were some of the key plays in that drive, both on the field and then from the play callers that you felt like put Buffalo in a perfect position to?
I think the key was, I think they ran two plays before they hit that big shot that Josh Palmer. It might have even been one play, but they designed two shallow plays, from what I'm remembering, over the middle of the field to force the defense to play up a little bit. Be like, okay, they're going to dink and dunk. And on that third play, they hit the corner shot to Josh Palmer, makes a great play to stay in bounds, gets an additional, I believe it was 10 yards after what was already a 20-yard completion.
Yep.
I mean, that was just perfect throw, perfect route, great ball placement, and great job to get upfield and get out of bounds. And I think they did run another pass play after that, another short concept, and then they started to run the ball, force Baltimore to use their timeouts. I mean, it was just a really well methodical drive and just trusting Josh Allen is going to put the ball where it needs to go. And that's why, I mean, Joe Brady has really turned a corner as an OC, because when he was in Carolina, I believe it was 2022 or 2023 when Frank Reich was there. It might have even been Matt Rule if I'm not remembering correctly, but that offense was just so stagnant and had no creativity. And he gets canned, comes to Buffalo, gets to work with one of the top QBs in the league. And that's where you saw his scheme really come forward and how it's been elevated over the past couple of seasons. And Joe Brady put on an absolute clinic in the fourth quarter in terms of play calling, play design, which players to attack and when. I mean, Jair Alexander, I was skeptical about him coming into this year with all the injuries. He had a horrible fourth quarter between lapses in coverage, making tackles that he shouldn't have been making, and just letting guys score. I mean, and to that, right, like after the big Josh Palmer play, Allen just rips a slant route to Keon Coleman and says, go make something happen, which Keon looked really bad early in the game. And midway through the third quarter, he just flipped the switch and looked like the receiver, the highlight receiver that we saw he was at FSU, which when I did my scout profile on him that year, I was like, look, this is the biggest highlight receiver you're ever going to see. He's going to make the big plays. He's going to make the big catches. He's inconsistent right now, which is what we saw in that week one game. But when it mattered, he showed up. And that's a good value to have in a good wide receiver too, like Keon Coleman, is when you need it, he's going to make it happen.
Yeah. And look, we talk about how great, how perfectly executed some of those drives were for Buffalo in the fourth quarter. But Baltimore, up until that point, had been playing a fantastic game. Like we said at the top of the podcast, I mean, they entered the fourth quarter up 34-19. So how much of that fourth quarter for you was Buffalo playing a great game versus Baltimore just making crazy lapses on defense?
I think it was a mix of both. And even, I want to take a step further. I think the clock management and aggressive play calling, or the lack thereof of aggressive play calling in the fourth quarter, is what really hurt the Ravens. And this has been a theme with John Harbaugh in his entire head coaching career. I mean, you look at all the games where they're up by like 10 points, 14 points, even 20 points, like we saw at time, I think 2 years – that Dolphins game 2 years ago. where they're just up, they're winning big, they're kicking the shit out of the other team, and then out of nowhere they just get super conservative for no reason, and the other team just gets momentum because they not only get conservative on offense, but they also get conservative on defense. And this Ravens defense is best when they're blitzing, they're stunning, they're running exotic coverage drops, which has been true for every DC that's been in the building since Rex Ryan days, right? So like it's a mix of both, but I think the Ravens always just tend to shoot themselves in the foot in these types of games where they're up big, they have the lead, and they just take their foot off the pedal a little too much. Like in those situations, you do want to let off a bit because you don't want to get over aggressive. You don't want to get hyper analytical, because I love analytics, but there is hyper analytics, right? And we see it across all sports, right? Ravens do the exact opposite of that. And I think that's a bigger hindrance than being over aggressive. And we've seen that time and time again. And we see it in the playoffs. We see it in marquee regular season matchups like this. And the biggest thing for me is the time management piece, right? Like they had 3 timeouts, when I think it was 3, when Buffalo was driving on that last drive. And Harbaugh just burned all the timeouts. And with 30 seconds left, they were able to run a play and then get the field goal team out there. Like, yeah, they had to hustle, but like they weren't stressed. They just ran out, got lined up like they do in practice in Mayday drills.
Yep.
And Matt Prater, who just got signed, hits a dink-dunk game-winning field goal. Like, great job. But if Harbaugh uses his timeouts better or doesn't use them at all and lets the clock run, because Buffalo didn't have any, like, make Buffalo feel pressure. Sit there, be like, why aren't they calling timeout? Oh, shit, we have to get on the field. Go, 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 go. Like, there was none of that. And it's just silly. Like, you would think NFL coaches can manage the clock better than they do. And I think that's the biggest hang up for half the coaches in the league. They just suck at basic clock management that any modern Madden player can do better than them. Like, it's just, and I know like Madden, it's different, but like, come on, like clock management is the easiest thing to do in terms of coaching. And it seems like half the coaches get it wrong all of the time.
Yeah, not me. I'm really not. I'm really bad at Madden. But I mean, you're totally right in the clock management. I mean, from what I saw, watching the game, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh my God, Buffalo, they're going to walk this off, because when they came on and brought the field goal unit on, the clock was going down, and the field goal unit. I mean, there was some urgency there. Like naturally, like the field goal is not guaranteed, but I mean, they definitely were taking their time a little bit. But so obviously the one thing, there was obviously the Derrick Henry fumble that kind of swung momentum in Buffalo's favor a little bit, if it wasn't already swinging in that direction. But one thing that, I mean, you really can't knock the Ravens on in their performance was the offense, right? I mean, they put up 40 points. Lamar Jackson had 209 yards to the air, 2 pass touchdowns, and 6 carries for 70 yards and a rush touchdown. Derrick Henry, obviously, aside from that fumble, 18 carries for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 6 yards after contact. So for you, I mean, I know we talked about Lamar in our Ravens preview pod, which there's still a lot to talk about for the rest of the season, so you should go check that out on House Enterprise. But we talked about how Lamar could be a QB1, right? And obviously this was a battle to see, who would kind of be the torchbearer for QB1. Even in the loss, do you feel like Lamar still made a good case for QB1 in the NFL?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like, obviously Josh Allen played better, but that was because he had to play better. He was forced to play in a much more aggressive passing attack than the Ravens did, because the Ravens did their normal pass run split. And then once they got to the fourth quarter with a 14, 15-point lead, that's when they started to run more and started to utilize Derrick Henry and Lamar's legs. And yeah, it bit him in the ass because Derrick Henry fumbled, but like, great players are going to make mistakes all the time. Like, Derrick Henry is still one of the best running backs of all time, if not the best. Like, he's going to fumble. Shit happens, right? So in terms of Lamar, though, like, Lamar did everything he was asked to do, and the running aspect of avoiding sacks and buying time and finding Zay Flowers out of nowhere, the perfect deep ball shot on the right side to D-Hop for the one-handed catch. Like, Lamar did everything he's been doing, and he did it at a relatively good clip for their pass run split rate, right? So, like, we can look at box score. We could be like, well, Josh Allen had more pass yards in the fourth quarter than Lamar had the whole game. Like, okay, fine. We can have that conversation, but look at the situation. Look at, you think they're gonna pass enough for him to get 250 in the fourth quarter when they're up by 4? Like, would I like to see them pass a bit more and maybe go for it on that 4th and 3 after they gain 5 on that short drag route? Yeah, would have loved to have seen that. But that's not Lamar's decision to make, right? So, like, Lamar did everything he could to still show he can be QB1 in the league, right? Like, and he's the reason why they were so damn effective on Sunday night. And, like, yeah, Derrick Henry had an amazing game, as he usually does, right? And he showed up when he needed them to show up. But Lamar still did what he was supposed to do and elevated the offense on top of it. I mean, he made D-Hop look 5 years younger. Like, yeah, he only had 2 catches, but, like, still his route running looked better. His spacing and timing looked better in terms of route pacing. The hands looked good as ever, right? And that's all you can really ask for from Lamar. Now it's, okay, how do we rebound? How do we set the tone going forwards? This way we don't start in an 0-2 skid like we did last year, because this could easily be a trap game against the Browns. Like, it's just like it was against the Raiders last year, right? Like, shit happens. It's the NFL.
Yeah, and so kind of putting a pin in this game, going into week 2, where do you want to see the most kind of buttoning up for Baltimore? And do you feel like they'll have the room to, kind of focus on buttoning that up and also get the win?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the defense. Like, it's the Bills, right? They're going to put up a shit ton of points, but, like, them scoring 41 on the game entirely when they only scored 25 until those last, like, 10 minutes of the game, like, this defense needed to nut up and shut up, and they didn't. They failed to do that, right? And whether it was lack of pass rush on third down, whether it was getting conservative and not running exotic blitzes and using Roquan Smith, because Roquan Smith he's a great coverage linebacker, but I would argue he's even a better blitzer and pass rusher, especially when you dial him up on a stunt the right way. Like, I would love to see this defense be a little bit more aggressive. Now, can they be aggressive with this secondary? Malachi Starks is a rookie, obviously. You have Marlon Humphrey, who's up there in age, but still a damn effective corner. Nate Wiggins looks pretty solid the other night, but they don't really have a 5th or 6th solid DB right now. Like, they have Chidobe Awuzie, who looked good in flashes on Sunday night, but overall had an okay game. Jair Alexander, again, line up a ton of big plays that really shifted momentum in this game. Missing Ardarius Washington for most of the season is really going to bite them in the ass, I think, especially just having a rotational safety, which allows Kyle Hamilton to play down in the box. Like, I don't know if Chidobe and Jair are going to be able to do it all on their own to fix that third corner spot on this defense. And they may have to rotate them a little bit more. This pass rush could be a little bit more effective. I mean, Justin Madubuike is a freak, but he can't do it all by himself. Travis Jones plays really well too, but, like, the pass rush, he's still developing in that area, right? So, like, I think the defense just needs to bow up against a bad Browns offense. And if they can't do that, I think we're going to see kind of similar shades of what happened in the first half of last year, where they were the worst defense through the first 10 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a pretty easy baseline, in my opinion, for the Ravens defense to hit. Just be better than week 1. Just one last stat before we move on to the next game, but this is the most points that the Baltimore defense has let up since a 42-38 loss to Miami in week 2 of 2022. So, it's really only up from here. Let's get into the game where we learned the most out of the week 1 slate. And that is the Green Bay Packers 27-13 win over the Detroit Lions. Obviously, we talked about in our preview pod how, this was kind of the NFC North was kind of going to be the Detroit and Minnesota show. And then Green Bay, had a good opportunity to play spoiler. And they took that opportunity early. A couple quick stats for you. Micah Parsons, he had 1 sack in his first game for the Packers. 4 trips to the red zone for Detroit. and just 1 touchdown. So that's the one thing I really want to call out. So for you, in terms of Detroit's red zone efficiency, I mean, what happened there? Where did they struggle the most?
I think it's just setting up their drives to be more effective in the red zone, right? And the first thing I want to point out is their play action rate. Like, this is one of the heaviest play action teams in the NFL last season. And really since Ben Johnson was the OC there, right? So missing out on play action, they ran it just 4 times in the first half, right? Like, that's not getting it done, right? A team like this that's going to be the, run first identity, you need to be running more play action than that. And I know that, like, that's like 4 play action sounds like, a lot, over the game, like 8 to 10 play actions out of, let's say, 30 to 40 dropbacks. That's 25%. Like, that sounds like a lot, but it's really not, especially with an offense with the identity that Detroit has, right? So, like, I think missing play action was the biggest hang up for this team, right? The second one was the offensive line looked out of rhythm, and now they have 2 new guys in, and technically 3 if you want to count Graham Glasgow as he's moved to center. You have Tate Radledge and Christian Mahogany at guards. We highlighted Christian Mahogany. I have high expectations for him, but man, he struggled against as a run blocking. He did fine, but pass protection looked really rough in pass pro. He allowed 4 pressures in true pass set situations, which was the second most of any guard throughout week 1. And then Tate Radledge had an okay game. Graham Glasgow had an okay game as well, but like nothing like we saw last year with Ragnow, Zeitler, and Glasgow all working together, where Glasgow was the third in that middle group, and now he's supposed to be the top guy leading 2 raw young players working together. Like, that's a lot to put on his plate. And yeah, he's a veteran. I believe he's 30 years old. He's been in the league forever, right? Like, but that's still a lot to put on him, plus a position change, right? So I think that kind of extrapolated. I don't know if that's the right word, but like that really made it difficult for this offensive line to have a complete reshuffling, new guys in new spots, like just a rough thing to go about, right? And the other part is Jared Goff. This was the most conservative I think I've seen him play since the Lions started to win a lot more. He had a 4.2 average depth of target, which I think was the lowest out of all starting quarterbacks this week. He had 7 total attempts of 10 plus yards, and only 1 of those came in the first half. So he's not pushing the ball downfield. He's dinking and dunking, which is fine. There's a place for that. But when you're not forcing the ball downfield and you're not running play action that much, and you have the O-line issues that you have, like, you need to stress the defense, like, vertically. If you're just going to dink and dunk, then the defensive front's going to be like, okay, we need to get quick pressure. Let's use faster moves. Let's use better stunts. Let's use better blitz packages. Like, let's get to him quick before he gets the ball out quick, right? Like, it's being like hyper dink and dunk like this is going to stress the offense more than it's actually going to help, at least in the Lions case, right? Like, where Goff is not a mobile quarterback like a Jalen Hurts, who we'll talk about later in the podcast. But on top of that, he had 1 attempt at 20 plus yards, and that was the 4th quarter shot to Isaac Tisla for the touchdown, which was whatever. Okay. I mean, great play. What it meant for the game, whatever, you know what I mean? But great play by him. And he only took 3 passes over the intermediate middle of the field, which is 10 to 19 yard range. And it's between the numbers, between the hash area of the field. He wasn't hitting that spot a lot compared to what he's done. So in terms of percentage rate attempt wise in that area, 7.7% of his pass attempts in week 1 were in that area, where over the past 2 years combined, 12.5% of those passes have gone to that area, right? So, like, you're cutting down almost half of the rate of times he's trying to hit it in that window. And, like, some of that was Jared Goff's decision-making, but the other side of that was there weren't really routes being designed to hit that area of the field. And when I was watching that tape, it looked like this is weird to say about a Lions team, but it felt like a lot of routes were stacked on top of each other, which we know is a big no-no in the NFL. Like, the amount of times they ran mesh and the receivers just ended up spotting down right on top of each other, like, struggled with the reads, obviously. But some of that's on Goff too, being able to mitigate that and make adjustments on the fly and hot routing before the ball snapped. So offensively, I think that was the biggest issue was the lack of play action, the lack of stretching the ball downfield between how the scheme worked for that game and Jared Goff himself, and the reshuffling of the offensive line. And then defensively, they just look soft. Like their coverage splits were about the same what they were all of last year, and that was to be expected with Kelvin Shepard learning under Aaron Glenn last year and now calling the defense this year. But they only had 7 pressures per PFF. And that was a 26.1% pressure rate compared to a 34.2% pressure rate all of last year. So you dropped off basically a quarter of your pressures in terms of rate. Not great. And on top of that, they only got 1 pressure against non-true pass sets. So like play actions, screens, quick game RPO, like only 1 pressure. You have to generate more than that. And yeah, it's tough because it's not against true pass sets, but you need someone who's going to scream off the edge or come blitzing up the middle and try to muck a play up, and they didn't have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's talk about on the Packers side of things, a really strong game. Jordan Love, one thing that we talked about in our preview for the Packers, we wanted to see Jordan add another layer to his game, right? And one of the things that you wanted to see specifically, Jordan, that you called out is his ability to work under pressure. He had a sack to pressure rate of 0% in this game. He did not take a sack the entire time, and that's over 5 pressures. Only 2 turnover-worthy plays. This is via PFF. All those stats that we just brought up are PFF. So in terms of his start to the season, obviously only week 1, biggest caveat for this entire podcast, right? But for, how he played under pressure against the 2-time reigning division champs in the Lions, I mean, what did you like out of Jordan Love's ability to work in the pocket?
He looked different than how he normally does in a good way. The turnover worthy plays, obviously, like those were both just bad throws and bad decisions, but they weren't downfield like they normally are. They were just within, either within the line of scrimmage or less than 10 yards downfield, right? So just trying to squeeze the ball into a tight window that's not necessarily there, or just having a miscommunication on route pacing and timing, right? That's what you contribute it to, where the past few years it's been, he's not reading the defense right. He's not managing the pocket right. And now he has to force a ball because he doesn't want to take a sack, right? That didn't happen against the Lions. And this is a team that played a shit ton of man coverage. So you have to put the ball on the money, which is what he did a lot of the time in week 1. To go further on that, he attacked the 10 to 19 and 20 plus yard range a lot more effectively than he has in the past. So in the intermediate area, which is 10 to 19 yards, he was 6 of 9 on those passes. And then on 20 plus yards, he was 2 of 4. And one of those was a drop by Jaden Reed, which would have been a 30-yard completion. So he really could have gone 3 and 4 on the deep passes, which would have put him 9 and 13 on the day, which is an awesome rate to have, right? So if we look at the combined completion rate, and we're not going to do adjusted completion rate because there was only 1 drop and everything else was, what it was, right? So 1 drop on that. So the combined completion rate he had on those ranges was 61.5%. Over the last 2 years, at those same ranges, he was at 47.6%. So we see almost 14-point jump in that range, which is awesome. And then if we look at the attempt rate, how often he was throwing those that deep of passes, in week 1, 59.1%, whereas the previous 2 years combined, 36.4. So over a 23-point jump, almost 23-point jump in terms of how often he was attempting it. So not only was he attacking the deeper part of the field more often, but he was more effective at doing so. And yeah, it's a small sample size. We're looking at 13 passes compared to, 300 over the past 2 years combined, right? Very, very small sample size. But this is against a hyper-aggressive defense that is very effective in man coverage, going against a fully healthy pass rush that has been one of the best in the NFL over the past 2 years. And he did it with poise and with precision, which is something that we haven't really seen from Jordan Laube outside of the Toyota-thon the past 2 years, right? Like, because that's if you want to do your homework at home and have some fun, go look up Jordan Laube's passing metrics, advanced and box score during Toyota-thon the past 2 years. He's, I don't know what it is, just plays like a Hall of Fame quarterback during that span. It's hilarious.
Love it. And when is Toyota-thon usually? When are we gonna see that spike?
Toyota-thon.
Probably around like December.
Like November.
Right?
Let's
November.
See. Dates. So Toyota-thon is typically late November through early July. So in 2023, the event included hold on. So for 2024, it was November 15th until January 6th of 2025. So a good like 7-week range, Toyota-thon. So look at like week 12 to week 18 for the past 2 seasons.
That's crucial. That's a crucial chunk of the season.
Yes, it is.
And then before we wrap up on this game too, I just wanted to talk about Micah Parsons. Obviously, had 1 sack for the Packers. I saw some fun videos of him, still trying to get in the hang of things for some of the defensive celebrations. But it looks like he's settling in well. Could you talk about maybe what you liked out of him?
Yeah, he just looked on fire. And a lot of people, they fall into this trope of, well, he didn't practice the whole preseason. He's got a nagging back injury. Like, we see this with superstars all the time. Like, they're NFL athletes. Like, this happened with Nick Bosa when he was in his contract dispute and he didn't practice at all and didn't play at all until I think they signed him like 3 days before the season opener. And he came out and got like 10 pressures or some shit like that. Like, these are professional fucking athletes, guys. Like, this is not your, it's a college kid who had a little too much to drink, while he was out. Like, no, these are pros. Like, they're going to come out on fire. And yeah, he only had 1 sack. He only had 3 pressures. You can look at it that way. But how he got the pressures and how he was deployed, he looked electric. And if you look at that last sack of the game that got them the ball back, he looked like a lion hunting a gazelle. Like, it was poetry in motion watching him go to work. And I think the biggest thing people can take away, and I have to find the exact tweet where I saw it, and there was data to back it up. But when the 3 main Packer edge rushers were on the field, and Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, and Lucas Van Ness, when all 3 of them were on the field at the same time, they allowed 6 total yards. And I think they were on the field, 20% of the snaps, all 3 of them together. So that's a fifth of the game. You're allowing 6 yards when those guys were all on the field. That's pretty significant. And Micah, I think, played less than 50%. I think it was like 47.9 or something like that. Like, he didn't even play half a game, and he still made an impact. Like, he's going to be so sick on this defense. And I'm getting off the point here, but Jaron Cooper, holy shit, what a game he had. He was flying around all over the field and run fit, pass drops, blitzes. Like, Jaron Cooper could be in line for an all-pro season if he plays like he did week 1, because he looked completely different. I mean, he was good last year, but he's taking it to another level early in his sophomore season.
Yeah. Let's get into a game that surprised us the most, and that was the Indianapolis Colts 33-8 win over the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins struggling is not something that surprised us. We kind of talked about, ways that they could struggle in our preview. But on the Indy side of things, I mean, our entire Colts preview was pretty much focused on what could have caused this team to go with Daniel Jones as the starter over Anthony Richardson. And that looks like, to me, like one of our, our big kind of flubs of the preview pods. So let's get into it. He was 22 for 29, had 272 yards through the air, 7 carries for 26 yards, and just 3 touchdowns in total on the day. This was his first win as a starter since October 6th, 2024. Where did Daniel Jones prove us wrong the most?
I don't think he proved us wrong yet. And
okay.
I don't want to like take anything away from DJ, because this was easily the best. This is a great game. Like, box score, film, like everything looked good. Like, yeah, he had a couple of Daniel Jones-esque throws early in the game, but in terms of pre-snap adjustments, hot routes, getting the ball out on time. When he was pressured, he mitigated it pretty well. Like, things that Daniel Jones typically struggled with, he showed that he did not struggle with it during week 1. There's a couple caveats to that, though. We talked about in the Dolphins preview pod that this defense, if the pass rush is not effective, they are going to get torched because their secondary is horrible and they have new starters everywhere. And I picked Mike Hilton as a starter at nickel. He's not even on the team, right? So, like, someone who I thought was going to help glue this defense together I'm pretty sure he's still a free agent. I think he's working out a couple places. He might have been signed already. But Mike Hilton's not even in the building. And I thought that was going to be a key piece for this defense to have some, like, security blanket to it, right? But if we look at what Daniel Jones did well outside of what Miami didn't do well, right? He played on time. His average time to throw was 2.8 seconds, which is faster than he's ever played in his career outside of that 2022 season in New York. He checked it down when he was under pressure. He was only pressured 5 times, but on those pressures, he had a 2.8 average depth of target. Normally, when he's pressured, he tries to force something or he just gets sacked and loses the ball because he's trying to make a decision and he can't. Now he said, okay, pressure, just get it to my guy in the flat. Hit the drag route. Hit a shallow crosser elsewhere. Like, he did a much better job getting rid of the ball when he was under pressure. So those two things were great. But where Daniel Jones has historically struggled is when he's pressured often. He was pressured the 5th lowest rate out of all quarterbacks in week 1 at 24.9%. Was it 24.9? Might have been 24.2% of the time he was pressured. Now, granted, he has a much better offensive line than he's ever had, so that helps too. But at some point in the season, he's going to be pressured more than 30% of the time. And how is he going to respond when he is pressured in that? Because, yeah, you can get rid of the ball quick when you're under pressure, and that worked against Miami because their secondary can't rally. But when you play a good defense that can rally, like when you play Houston twice a year, when you play even the Titans, like, I know their defense isn't great, but they just held a good Broncos team to 20 points, right? Like, when you play these teams that can rally to the ball well, and these teams that will get pressure on you snap after snap, how is he going to respond? And I want to see him take that next step this year if he is going to be the starter long term, because if he plays like this, he should if he continues to play the whole season, he is more than deserving to be the starting quarterback and push this team to a deep playoff run because the Colts have the roster to do it, right? But if he reverts back to Daniel Jones that we know and love, or know and hate, really, that's where it's going to become an issue as expected, right? So I want to see how he does further along in the season when he's pressured more often before I say, yeah, this was the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a big question mark for Miami heading into the season was the secondary. Obviously, they got torched. Could you talk about, where they struggle the most in just stopping this Colts offense?
You couldn't cover Michael Pittman. I mean, like, when Michael Pittman's healthy, he's a very, very good receiver. And even me, like, I've underrated him, like, throughout his career. Like, I'm like, yeah, but he can't stay healthy. How effective is he really? When he's on, he's on. He's a very good receiver, right? So, like, when you're hitting him on intermediate routes and deep crossers and letting him get yak here and there on the underneath, right? Like, that opens up other guys in the offense. Like we saw with Tyler Warren, the first drive of his NFL career, he gets 3 catches, right? Like, I don't even think Brock Bowers did that last year, right? And I'm not saying Tyler Warren's going to be better than Brock. They're 2 completely different players. But it does speak volumes when you have a very good wide receiver 1 in Michael Pittman. You have a great slot receiver in Josh Downs, who's good in the intermediate area. Alec Pierce and Adonai Mitchell are, two wings on the same bird in terms of deep threat ability, route running, good hands catching, right? Like, solid players like that, and you can still target a rookie tight end at that kind of clip. Like, this just opens up the whole offense, and that's not including Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield. Mo Alley Cox here and there. Is he even on the team? I might be wrong about that. But, like, they have other weapons outside of those 5 or 6 guys, right? So, like, when you have a secondary as, scattered as Miami's is, it's very easy to just pick and choose your matchups, which is exactly what the Colts did against this defense. And you're going to see more of that in Miami, especially if the offense continues to play just as bad as they did against the Colts defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's get into our. Oh, by the way, Mo Alley Cox is still on the Colts.
Thank you.
Shout out VCU, by the way. VCU,
yes, sir.
Legend. Let's get into an honorable mention for a game that surprised us, and that was the Steelers. Their win over the Jets, 34-32 in MetLife. Aaron Rodgers' revenge game. Revenge against who?
The Jets.
Who on the Jets? I really don't know.
Oh, who knows?
I mean, definitely. I think, talking as a Jets fan, I will say this. Like, I don't really understand why you want to get revenge on a team that you spent 2 years, kind of bringing in all of your favorite guys. You had the big reveal of Devontae Adams on the Pat McAfee show. You brought in your guy Nathaniel Hackett. At the same time, I will say that, his point, talking about how when it came time to figure out whether to move on from him or continue, maybe he felt like they didn't think that he had much left in the tank. Obviously, he proved them wrong there. But overall, like, the team that you were on is not really the same team that was there in a lot of ways. So I don't really think it's like a team that you effectively got revenge on. I could be a salty Jets fan. I could be just frustrated by the loss, but I mean, that's just my perspective on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have something? Sorry.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, the Jets gave you anything and everything, and they gave you a chance after you tore your Achilles going into your 40-year-old season. And they said, yeah, we're going to run it back. We're going to take a chance. And it didn't work out. Like, for you to have an attitude about, like, I get like having a chip on your shoulder. Like, Michael Jordan used to like make shit up and be mad at people for it. And that got him to play better.
Every athlete does.
Every athlete does. But when you're in the media and you're as pompous as you are all the time, like, just shut the fuck up, dude. Like, not to be that crass about it, but like, or crass, whatever the fucking word is, but like, come on. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand his perspective somewhat, but I mean, for me, it's just like, I don't really see the, like, tumultuous part of being on this team that really constitutes that much of a revenge game. But overall, I mean, it was very exciting. I mean, we learned a lot of things about both teams. Obviously, we've learned that Aaron Rodgers still has a lot left in the tank. We learned that Justin Fields, something's working in this offense, right? This Aaron Glenn team is really clicking in a lot of ways. For me, one thing that, felt like it carried over from last year is like a little bit of lack of discipline. They had 7 penalties for 74 yards. That was something that the team struggled with a lot last year. But I will say a lot of those penalties came, for me, less from just sloppy, undisciplined play and more from just, I mean, they were playing their asses off in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can clean that up and continue to perform on the offense at the level that they did, I think, Jets fans could be in for maybe a fun season. I was texting some of my friends who are also Jets fans, and I was like, wow, guys, it's like 2:30, and I'm still having fun watching the Jets in week 1. It's 2:45, 3 o'clock, and I'm still having fun. As we approached 4, I was not really having fun as the Steelers outscored the Jets 17-6 in the fourth quarter. But that on the Sam having fun meter, that was a record-setting week 1 game for me.
Absolutely, and you're Brandon Stevens drop picked away from celebrating a week 1 victory, which is unfortunate. They played great, and just a last note here: Armin Membo, the rookie right tackle, that a lot of people kind of went like, we needed a tight end, we needed another receiver. Shut down T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. Allowed 0 pressures the whole game. Pancake T.J. Watt twice on run plays. Like,
and one of those led to the Justin Fields rushing touchdown, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
That was like, for me, that was the play of the game for the Jets. I was like, oh man, something is clicking here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But let's kind of wrap up week 1 and talk about some of our top performers of the week. So Jordan, you've got 4 guys laid out. Let's break it down. Who you got?
Yeah, so just a preview. We're going to do this every week. Going to pick one guy on each side of the ball for each conference, so 4 total players, and we're just going to run quick. We're not going to hyper analyze this, but for offensive player on the AFC side, Zay Flowers for me, 7 catches for 143 yards and a touchdown. The yards were a career high for him. He had 6.5 yards per route run. We know 3 is an elite number, so to more than double that is double elite, however you can quantify that, that's sick. And if you take away his 39-yard long, he was still at 4.95 yards per route run, had a really good game, and at 155 passer rating when targeted, which is the first among all wide receivers with 3+ targets. So that's really solid there. On the NFC offensively, Brian O'Neill, the Vikings right tackle, had his plate full with a bunch of different blitzes, stunts, mug fronts, load fronts, whatever the Bears could throw at him, he handled it. He didn't allow a single pressure, and he was one of 2 offensive linemen in the entire league to have an 80+ PFF grade in run blocking and pass blocking. Did really well there. I know PFF grades aren't everything, and sometimes they're wrong, but from what I saw last night and on review tape this morning, that looked really solid. Then moving over to the defensive side, AFC, I was at this game, the Raiders-Pats game, which go Raiders. Dylan had a couple nice plays returning the ball, which was good. But the Pats defense looked good, and at least pass rush they did. And that starts with Harold Landry, who I have not been high on the past few years, and he looked good in that game. He tied for the league lead with 8 pressures, and he added 5 stops plus TFLs. That's the best he's looked in his entire career, at least from what I saw live. He was just everywhere, especially in the first half. And then the NFC, Nate Landman for the Rams came in as a free agent linebacker. He looks like a starting NFL linebacker now. He had a few, I believe he was with the Falcons before he came to the Rams. Just kind of looked out of place, and now he looks like he's found a home in the Rams defense. He had 6 stops plus TFLs, a 90.8 coverage grade, and he had a game-winning forced fumble as the Texans were driving, looking to score a touchdown. Couldn't ask for a better game from a new coming linebacker who is probably going to be a starter on this defense for the entire year, if not beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, to highlight a position that, you felt like really kind of excelled, there were a lot of guys at the position, obviously some good performances from a lot of quarterbacks this week. I mean, Dak Prescott, J.J. McCarthy, Geno Smith. I mean, can you talk about, 1 or 2 guys that you feel like really just kind of excelled this week?
Yeah, just to quickly, J.J. McCarthy's fourth quarter was unbelievable. If you turned off the game after his pick 6, shame on you. He balled back out. My buddy Larry, who is the Brock Turdy guy, that's where that came from. He thinks J.J. McCarthy stinks because he's a handoff merchant. Thank you for that. And after the pick 6, he was all over our phone like, yeah, he stinks. He's I forget what word he used, but it was along the lines of he sucks. And then he came out and balled out in the fourth quarter like the way he did at Michigan, right? So, good fourth quarter from JJ. Hope to see that. And that's why I'm the leader of the JJMFC, JJ McCarthy Fan Club. If for those listening at home, do not see it on my screen. That's what that means. But the 2 other quarterbacks I want to call out, Jalen Hurts, I think actually reviewing the tape and reviewing some of the metrics, he didn't really throw. He threw more than 10 yards once, and it was on a 50-yard bomb to Jahan Dotson. Everything else was within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. But when you look at how the Cowboys ran defense, they ran no man coverage. Everything was zone. So Jalen Hurts just kind of had to pick and choose, dink and dunk, play the scheme, and use his legs to extend plays. He has a great supporting cast, but there are a lot of quarterbacks that I think would not have been as efficient as Jalen was going against a defense like that, because that's how Jalen plays, right? So, I wanted to call that out. I thought it was a good performance in hindsight. Watching it live, I'm like, he's just dinking and dunking, he's checking down, whatever. But when you're playing zone defense like that, it's kind of what you have to do. And then for my second one, there's a couple different ways I can go, but Justin Herbert, dog, he looked awesome. against the Chiefs, ripped a lot of good passes, deep, intermediate, short, navigated pressure really well, and was the main reason the Chargers were able to upset the Chiefs in week 1. He just looked like a top quarterback. And he's had flashes of that, like in spurts during games, and he's had a couple of big games in total. I think this was the best game of his career from just analyzing quarterback play, like in terms of pocket management, decision making, making all the off-platform and in-structure throws that you want a top quarterback to make. Like, he played lights out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's get into the first of 2 lightning rounds that we're going to do tonight.
Yes, sir.
And obviously, it was a graphic that was posted on our House Enterprise Instagram and our Twitter account today, which you should follow on the banner that you're seeing scrolling below. If you're listening, you can see all of our socials linked in the description of the podcast. But for you, give when you're doing this, give the team and give just a quick sentence or two on what they did to put them here. But lightning round, top 10 teams from week 1, go.
Yeah, awesome. Number 10, Broncos, I think did a good job. I know the box score doesn't show it, but defense played really well. Yes, against a first round rookie QB, leave that out the window. This defense played well when it needed to. Number 9, the Vikings, especially in the second half, they rebounded and turned things around and were able to play well down the stretch. At 8, we have the Chiefs, who the offense looked more explosive than it ever has while missing players. Pat Mahomes was chucking the ball deep, and yeah, he was off to start the game, but really turned it on later on in the game. Good 3-headed rushing attack between Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, and Brashard Smith, so solid there. 7, the Rams defense looked as advertised, kept CJ Stroud under duress pretty much the entire game, and the offense with a limp back Matt Stafford played really well as well, despite only 14 points of offense. Number 6, the Chargers, for reasons I stated earlier, Justin Herbert elevating, but the defense played really well, especially Diane Henley, linebacker. He's going to be another name to watch. All-pro watch for him after a great season last year. Number 5, the Packers. Do I need to say more? We talked about him earlier. Defense is loaded now with Micah Parsons, and Jordan Love is doing what he needs to do. Number 4, this is going to be a surprise to some, but the Buccaneers, I think, are poised for a great season. Baker Mayfield made a good amount of mistakes, and they still looked explosive as hell on offense, and defense held a really good Falcons offense at bay for most of the game. Number 3, the Ravens. I know the defense didn't play great, but if the offense is clicking as well as they did against the Bills, and this defense plays average, this is a Super Bowl contending team. Number 2, the Bills, just same thing, but even more so. The Bills' defense was probably the worst in the NFL in week 1, but their offense was the best in week 1, right? So like that in itself is great. And number 1, I have to put the Eagles up there because 15 straight games where Jalen Hurts has started the game and finished the game, they've won. I know wins are not a quarterback stat, but when you win 15 straight with your starting quarterback in to finish the game and start the game, you earn the number 1 spot regardless of how you play. This is the team to beat coming off a dominant Super Bowl run last year.
Excellent. Love it. You can see Jordan's top 10 on the graphic on our social medias that you see below, and we're going to do that every single week for the rest of the season. Let's get into week 2. Let's talk about the 3 games that you are most excited for in this week. Starting off with Bears at Lions. What should fans look out for in this game?
This is the Ben Johnson homecoming, obviously coming back to play the team that where he revitalized or helped revitalize a franchise. Now he's going to try and do it with the Bears. Obviously, last night did not go their way. Caleb Williams looked great early on in terms of avoiding sacks, slinging the ball downfield, but they kind of fell apart. Ben Johnson will clean that up. And now they're going to go play a Lions team that just got outright embarrassed on the road against the Packers. Now they come home. Can they avoid an 0-2 start, which seems weird for the Lions to start 0-2 if they do, but really they're not that far removed from a start like that. So this is going to be a really pivotal game in the NFC North. Who starts 0-2 and which offense gets going on the right foot heading into week 3? That's going to be a really fun game.
Yep. And then your next game, Eagles at Chiefs. I mean, like
Super Bowl rematch. I can't say anything else, man. Like if Jalen Royals is healthy and he can play that pseudo Rashee Rice role, I think this offense is going to open up even more. And the fun part is now the Chiefs aren't going to sit back and zone all the time. They're going to run man blitzes. They're going to run stunt games like not Chuck Pagano, Spagnolio, sorry. Steve Spags is going to make Jalen Hurts work. And that's what I'm looking forward to most, seeing how Jalen Hurts comes back now that Spags has had a full 6 months to dissect what went wrong in the Super Bowl and attack Jalen Hurts again and attack this offense again. I would love to see what he's got planned for this for this rematch. That's going to be a really fun game.
Absolutely. And then this one, really fun AFC West battle. What are you looking for in Chargers at Raiders in Las Vegas?
Just a good quarterback duel between Geno Smith and Justin Herbert. Chargers defense needs to come out cranking against this offensive line that looked bad against the Patriots in the first half. I don't know if there's going to be shuffling going into week 2 on the offensive line, but after this week, depending on how it goes, there might be some more shuffling. Also want to see Ashton Genty get a couple more carries that break big. He had a few in that game, but really didn't do much else besides that. And a Dylan Laube kick return touchdown would be nice. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, you know what? Before we get into our second lightning round, I want to talk about some kind of hanging stories, from week 1. Nothing really much to some of these, but, in general, but I feel like they're worth talking about. Jalen Carter, Spitgate. Obviously, the news came out today when we're recording this, September 9th, that the game. So since he was ejected from the game before the first snap, right after kickoff, the NFL, I guess, has come to the decision that is suitable enough to be a 1-game suspension. And then I think there's a $57,000 fine on top of that. I've not really seen a suspension handed down and then being like, all right, since you got ejected, that's it. That's the suspension. So I just thought that was really funny. Any other thoughts on Spitgate? I know there's some, did Dak spit first?
To dispel that, Dak spat on the ground knowing damn well he was going to rage bait Jalen Carter, which as a savvy veteran move, I can't do anything but support that. Like, who's the most hot-headed young player on the Eagles side of the ball and also happens to be one of their best defensive players? That guy. Let me see if I can entice him a little bit. So it's Bush League, but it's a veteran move and it worked, right? I wouldn't do it, but I can appreciate people that would.
Dak spit definitely up to interpretation. Jalen Carter's just a beeline from his mouth to Dak's collarbone. Excellent stuff. Dude, nothing got me more hyped for the 2025 season.
The fact he didn't even play a snap, which I agree with. Like, he technically did get suspended a game because he got ejected. Yeah. But if the NFL wants to really drive home this no taunting and no extracurricular bullshit that they are gung-ho on, which that could be a whole other podcast in and of itself. But if they wanted to do it, I would say, suspend him another game. But it's a marquee matchup against the Chiefs. I'm sure that would just open the floodgates to everyone be like, oh, the NFL's rigged. They want the Chiefs to win. They got rid of the best defensive player on the Eagles. Let him play. He already served the game. It's a win-win. Just let's have a really good matchup between these two teams and let Jalen Carter play.
Yeah, next story, sticking in the NFC East, Russell Wilson. It looks like the Giants are going to stick with him, as QB1 in week 2 against the Cowboys. I mean, smart move. Where do you feel like, how much more time does Russ have before, it might be time to look at Jackson Dart?
In a perfect world, I would love to see Jackson Dart sit the whole year. And if they do bench Russ, I would rather than play Jameis for that exact reason. I don't know if that's exactly how they're going to do it. But then why bring in 2 veteran quarterbacks who play very similarly, if not to give Jackson Dart as much room to sit as you can, right? If I was Dable, I would let Russ start until it absolutely hinders the offense. He had a rough game, but this offensive line they were paper. Like they, what's the word I'm looking for? They were turnstile. Like just got ran through the whole game. Like there's only so Russ is going from like, yeah, like he had that a little bit with the Steelers, but the scheme helped adjust for that, right? Like, and Russ has had relatively good offensive line play for the bulk of his career, but this is easily the worst he's had. And Andrew Thomas was out too. So it's like their best players out and you have to mitigate all this other bullshit. Like not much else you can do.
And this third one, obviously, I think is the most significant out of the three. George Kittle out for some considerable time. Obviously, the 49ers got a great win off of the Seahawks, 17-13. 17-13. I thought it was 17-10 for some reason. But without Kittle for these next couple of weeks, I mean, where could San Francisco struggle?
I'm just having a security blanket who's going to be open. They're also going to struggle in the run game because I think he's actually their best run blocker, even more so than some of their offensive linemen. But I think the biggest thing for them is Trent Williams. That's the worst game he's played in a long time. I think he's going to bow up and he's going to kind of, even though he's not a skill player, he's going to help mitigate that loss a little bit by coming back to the play we know and love from him as a future Hall of Fame left tackle. Ricky Pearsall looked really solid as well. But with some uncertainty about Juwan Jennings' health, CMC has the, nagging calf thing, which he looked fine in week one outside of that. But again, that could nag week over week. That could affect them a little bit. I would love to see them use more of a rotation in the running back room to take some pressure off Purdy and the rest of this offense and only pass when you absolutely have to, which against the Saints, you might be able to get away with that. But for the next 3 to 4 games after that, as long as George Kittle's out, I'm not sure how well they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah. And let's finish it off with our final lightning round of the night. I'm going to say the game, and we're both just going to say the team that we think is going to win. Let's start it off with Thursday Night Football, Commanders at Packers. I got the Packers.
Same here.
All right. Browns at Ravens, Baltimore.
I'm going Browns. I think there's going to be an upset. Just to be different, it's a classic Ravens trap game, like at home too, which is what happened with the Raiders last year.
All right. Jaguars at Bengals. I might go give me the Jags.
I like the Bengals in this, but the Jags are a sneaky good pick. I'm going to go Bengals now.
All right. Let's go Giants at Cowboys. I think I got them boys.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys win this one too.
Bears at Lions. Bears.
Really interesting. I'm going to go Lions. I think they correct a lot of their mistakes.
Okay. Pats at Dolphins. Give me the Pats here.
Yeah, Pats easily.
All right. 49ers at Saints. Give me New Orleans.
Really? Okay. I'm going to go 49ers. I think Brock gets it done against a lack of a pass rush that the Saints have.
All right. Bills at Jets. I don't want to do it, but Josh Allen just looks too good. Give me the Bills.
Yeah, I like the Bills too. This could be another trap game because they lost, was it 2 years ago after Aaron Rodgers went down to the Jets at home? Like, could happen again, but the Bills coming off that win, if they lose to the Jets, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, it should be the Bills, but it could be the Jets.
Yeah. Seahawks at Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, home debut. He looked good last week. I'll take the Steelers.
I'll take the Steelers too.
All right. This is a tough lightning round. Rams at Titans. I mean, the Rams looked really good last week, so I'm going to go Rams.
Yep, I'll go Rams as well. But Cam Ward got sold by his receivers. If they don't sell this week, that could be a closer game than people are expecting.
Absolutely. Panthers at Cardinals. I think I'm going to go with your boys here, Arizona.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals in this one. Bryce Young played like a pumpkin last week. If he plays just better than that, this is going to be a close game.
Broncos at Colts.
Give me the Broncos.
Yeah,
give me the Broncos. This is what Daniel Jones. This is when Daniel Jones turns into a pumpkin.
Eagles at Chiefs.
I like the Chiefs in a rematch. Give me KC. They need a win. Yeah, they're not starting 0-2.
Falcons at Vikings. Give me the Vikings here. I think
that's a really good matchup.
That's Sunday Night Football, by the way.
Yeah, I like the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy got a game under his belt. Comes against a worse defense. J.J. McCarthy show on Sunday night.
Yeah, and then we've got 2 games on Monday night. Bucks at Texans. Give me the Buccaneers here.
gut reaction says the Bucks. Yeah, give me the Bucks.
All right. And then the late Monday night game, Chargers at Raiders.
This is Chargers for me.
Yeah, Chargers. All
Sorry,
right,
Dylan.
that'll wrap it up. Let's see how we do at the end of this week. So, Jordan, that wraps up another episode of the Basel Pod. We are finally in the swing of things in the regular season. I'm so excited. We'll be coming at you next week with some more thoughts. While you are listening to this podcast, make sure you head over to house-enterprise.com and hit all the socials you see below or the ones that are linked in the description of your podcast episode. We've got so much good stuff coming at you for football season. The Football House is back. We're returning for week 3 live this week, live on Wednesday. We've got our week 3 college football primer that's going to come out Friday with our game of the week, all of our Football House picks and more. Brown is going crazy with Tales of the Titans. Kenny McDonald is giving his full thoughts on the Giants 2025 campaign, and then we'll be coming at you, as much as we can throughout the regular season. So, for Jordan Laube.
How about Bryant? First win against an FBS team. We'll take that to the bank, baby. That was
Bryant
a great game
over UMass and LIU.
LIU over
Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger upset than the Bryant versus UMass one. Good for LIU. Who just went D1 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
That's a good question. LIU is kind of complicated because I'm trying to think of what the situation was.
They were LIU. They had a couple different LIU schools, but LIU Post moved up to D1 for football. I think it was 2019, so 6 years. 6 years and they got their first FBS win. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, because there was LIU Post and then there was LIU Brooklyn, and then they merged their athletic programs. Just a little Long Island, college athletic talk for you guys here.
Long Island has to be weird.
But anyway, shout out LIU, shout out Bryant, and then shout out everyone at houseenterprise.com for putting out so much great stuff. So for Jordan Laube, I'm Sam Basel. This has been the Basel Pod, and we'll see you guys next time.